Hello world, I'm back at it again with another episode of Tangle Tales podcast. It is me, Andy. I'm here sitting in my apartment in Austin, Texas, and I wanted to pull out a little episode for you. I haven't been on the platform in a while. It's been pretty hectic and busy on my end, and I figured I'd share some updates with you. So thanks for listening. I'm also out of breath because I just got up and walked across the room to get the cat out of here. So without further ado, let me jump right into the episode. I have been in the process of updating and changing the licensing at Tanglefoot to be all in my name. I'm taking over the property, I'm taking over the business, and it will no longer be Al's Barbecue Barn, but it will be Tanglefoot Brewing technically. So kind of wanted to walk through the process with y'all and what that looks like and what I have left to do. So I've got a little sticky note. I don't normally keep sticky notes on the podcast. I go off the dome, but I wanted some kind of guiding rails so I didn't get too off track. But what happened was the barbecue decided to shut down. My family decided to shut down the operations at the barbecue. It's still technically Al's Barbecue Barn because that's the structure of the business. So what happens is I am now in the process of basically starting a business from scratch and having the exact same business as it operates under Al's Barbecue Barn, operate under my new business, Tanglefoot Brewing LLC. So first step was creating an LLC. Then I needed to get state comptroller sales tax number. I had to get an EIN from the government, and those in reverse order. I got the EIN with the LLC actually from LegalZoom. Now I'm in the process of submitting a TABC application, a packet as they call it, that basically has a bunch of information you submit to the TABC, Texas Alcoholic Beverage Commission, and they're the ones that permit you to manufacture and sell alcohol in the state of Texas. And I also have to submit a packet to TTB, which is the Tobacco Tax and Trade Bureau, and they are the governmental agency that governs the manufacturing of alcohol. So once those two things are submitted, usually takes several weeks for those to be approved if there aren't any changes that need to be made. So hopefully there aren't. But right now I'm in the process. I went to the comptroller's office today actually to get a specific piece of the paper signed and stamped by the official seal of the comptroller. So that happened. That's good. I've got a few more things to check off the box there, and I haven't been documenting this part of the process because frankly it's kind of stressful. I think just going and doing all this stuff while I'm continuing to operate a brewery by myself is it's not overwhelming or anything, but it's just two separate mindsets. Like one is just work, go in, make the beer, serve the beer, and then the other is like mentally like mental uncertainty. I don't know how long these things are going to take. I don't know if I'm going to mess something up. It's all a little bit kind of wonky. So I haven't been documenting that as much, but I look forward to possibly jumping on here and doing a podcast that's going to be covering or a YouTube video that covers the process of how to kind of work through the TABC application as well as the TTB application. I think they're pretty daunting to most people, but I've gone through a couple of these before. So it's just all paperwork and bureaucracy, which for some reason it really stresses me out, and it shouldn't because I've done it for so long. But like this type of work really stresses me more than other work for some reason. But anyways, yeah, on top of those things, once I have my LLC, that will be the ownership company for Tanglefoot Brewing, and Tanglefoot Brewing will have a license through TTB and a license through TABC to manufacture alcohol. I'm going to continue to be a brewpub license after consulting with a few of my good friends in the industry. They gave me some sage advice and kind of not necessarily steering me in one direction or the other, but just bouncing ideas off of them led me to ultimately consider just being a brew pub. I know I'd mentioned, I don't know if it was on this podcast or if I just spoke to regulars or customers or whatever, but I was leaning towards becoming a manufacturing brewery. There are different regulations and different limitations on what you can produce. Ultimately, I decided to stick with the brew pub. model. So I can dive more deeply into that if anybody has any interest in that. But that is what I'm moving forward with. So that will be the entity of Tanglefoot Brewing will have a license to sell wine and beer, which is the permit under TABC, the wine and beer retailers for on-premise consumption, and with a subordinate brew pub license. So once that's taken care of and I go through all the licensing and everything is good, I will then be able to move forward with purchasing the property. So that's something that I've been working towards as well. I have my mom and stepdad are willing to help me with a down payment and getting some lending for purchasing the property from my grandmother. She's the one that owns the property. But this is, it's kind of all up in the air right now. There's several different options, getting traditional lending from a bank, getting a different maybe owner financing thing. We're still kind of figuring this all out, and that's less of a priority than getting the business stuff figured out. So more updates to come on that, but hopefully we'll have a entity that owns the property that Tanglefoot will be renting from, which would be cool. Sales. Let's talk about sales. So December, I think the last podcast I left you on was a highlight. I had just had the busiest day of Tanglefoot's history. We had a huge party. We had a big turnout, great crew of people, and a lot of fun. So then January hit, and so actually the first week of January was surprisingly busy. I was just assuming that, like most businesses in the service industry, specifically alcohol consumption, after the New Year, sales drop off pretty dramatically because of people, dry January, people spend all their money on Christmas, so a lot of factors. But the first week or week and a half was relatively busy, and then January was pretty slow after that. So that was a bummer. I'm feeling very optimistic, however, because I'm seeing new faces. I'm seeing repeat customers as well. And now that I've moved the service station out from the beer saloon, it has been a game changer. So that's the other thing I wanted to touch on, was this move from the kegerator being in the beer saloon to the front of the barbecue is huge. It's like such a more approachable environment. So when people walk in, they see the taps, they see me behind the bar, they're like, oh, this is a brewery, not like, hey, this is a dead restaurant with a little tiny bar in the back. So positives. There's tons of, like a lot of space out front for people to sit. I put some bar stools in front of the makeshift bar right now. It's the old wooden tray line, so it actually works out pretty well. People like it, and it's just more accommodating for people to come in. I moved the record player out as well, so the music is coming, from the front of the restaurant or front of the brewery area. The downside is the beer saloon is now pretty much dead. Nobody goes in there, especially people that are new. It's tricky to communicate to them what it is and why it would be cool for them to sit in there. And I'm super proud of the beer saloon. I think I built it out to be exactly what I envisioned, and I envision taking that same vibe and bringing it out to the rest of the building. But that was a lot of work, and I really, really dedicated many months of my life to making it what it is. And now it's like kind of an afterthought, which is fine, because the goal is to have, the whole area feel like a brewery. So that's the only downside of it, is that, it's not as hospitable back there. I'm not standing behind the bar, like talking to people and pouring beer. So that's the only thing. But we'll, I think, eventually have hosts like private events and stuff in there. And then people can obviously go sit in there whenever they want when they come into Tanglefoot. So sales have been a little slow. However, I have been selling cans pretty frequently. I've had to taper the amount of cans that I'm filling on a weekly basis. Like most sales in general, it's pretty inconsistent from week to week. There's no like standard par. There's no standard metric for how many 6-packs I'm going to sell. One week it could be 6 6-packs for the entire weekend, and then the next week it could be 24 6-packs for the whole weekend, which is wildly different. And so I usually can about 12 6-packs at a time, just as a buffer from day to day. And so I'm up there canning once or twice a week. But it's fine. The setup is super simple and easy to maintain. that kind of production through there. So it works out, but the reason I've kind of tapered the amount of cans that I'm doing up front is the volume of beer that I have. So I'm getting to a point again where I'm crunching up against this shortage of beer. So I really want to ramp up sales. I really want to have some events and stuff, but I'm also just now able to increase production. So I'm still 2 months behind because my beers take that long to make. So I'm still in sort of the production limitations that I had 2 months ago. But once I get past this level of being able, now I can brew more frequently, that there's no operations happening in the back of the restaurant or in the kitchen area. So now I can increase operations just from logistically, I can brew more than 1 day a week because I was limited to Sundays. And I can utilize all of the cold room space, including the giant freezer space that we're going to convert into a walk-in cooler. And I'll probably do videos and stuff detailing that stuff. But those bottlenecks are now not bottlenecks, and it's just a matter of brewing the beer and getting it in kegs and ready to go. So I'm super excited about that. I touched on it a bit when I mentioned that the barbecue closed, but with them ceasing operations, it's just open season in the back kitchen area. So all of the restaurant equipment, I can now move around and open up the space and hopefully bring in some more tanks and stuff so I can increase production even more. And that's a good thing. I'm very excited about it. I feel much more comfortable being able to, stack kegs up and not have to worry about, them falling on people when they walk in. On that note, now that the barbecue has officially ceased operations, there's no food production happening. What are we going to do for food moving forward? Well, I am not doing it. For anybody that's talked to me in the beer saloon, you know that I am not interested in food production any longer. I spent my entire career doing food production, and I am just not interested in doing it any longer. I want to singularly focus on Tanglefoot Brewing and producing beer. So in the interim, I'll most likely just start buying some snacks and things like that. But frankly, that's, snacks here and there is not my priorities. I know people mention it all the time, but in the off chance that, 5 people want some chips or something, it's not a huge deal. And then long term though, I'd like to get a food truck partner in here. So if anybody is interested in, or knows anybody that owns a food truck that wants to have another spot on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, send them my way, Andy@tanglefootbrewing.com. Otherwise, I'm going to keep reaching out to people and trying to figure out a solution for that, and just probably have some food truck scheduling on a monthly basis moving forward. But that all is going to happen after I get the business completely in my name. Events. That's another thing. I just talked about the limited amount of beer that I have, or at least the limited amount of beer that I had on the production from 2 months ago. I will be looking to post some more events, get some things in the works, including a big event in April-ish time period. I've told many people about this already, but my goal is to have my anniversary party, my official, hey, this is officially my business, Tanglefoot Brewing party, and kicking off this Czech Beer Fest event that I want to start as an annual event in April/May time period. I want that to happen all at the same time, and so I'm expecting a huge, not like a huge turnout, but like a huge amount of things to do on my end. So that's coming up in a couple of months, and it's pretty daunting because I'm still dealing with all of this licensing and stuff like that. But if I can get all that figured out and then start cranking up the brew house and getting more beer in tanks, including the Amber Lager, the Czech Amber Lager that I designed on a YouTube video. If y'all want to go check out that YouTube video, that will be my second and only other seasonal release as of now. That's the only one I have in plan or have in the works to be released. That will happen on that day as well. So really, that event is going to be just a Czech polka music event, or Czech polka music and beer drinking event with some activities to do, maybe definitely some outdoor seating and some, hopefully, Czech food and vendors or something like that. But still, I I got a lot of other stuff on my plate than doing a big event right now. And yeah, I've mentioned it a couple times, but the YouTube channel is growing and I'm getting a lot of engagement on there. So for those that listen to the podcast, I know it's a much more limited group of people, but I really appreciate y'all tuning in and listening to this. But if you haven't checked out the YouTube channel, definitely check it out. It's a lot of fun. I'm doing some more like edited, produced videos for pretty much everything in the brewery, including one that I'm working on right now, which is about my screen printing setup. So I bought a screen printing piece of equipment, a 4-color screen press, and a flash dryer. And so I've been printing my own shirts and hoodies and things like that, which I think I mentioned on the podcast before, but I've been blasting on social media and been doing drops every so often. So hopefully I'll get that video out in the next week or so. But yeah, that's been working out quite well. I bought this whole setup for like $400, and the only reason I bought it was because I knew how much of a deal it was. And there are a lot of things that are involved in screen printing. It's not just the equipment. There's, obviously supplies, and then you have to get the inventory of shirts. But the way that I've been looking to pivot my merchandise program is just having a very limited amount of each individual style or size and color. And so I'll buy one medium pink hoodie and one XXL charcoal gray, tri-blend shirt, and I'll screen print those, and then I'll have them up for sale. I'm also going to probably be doing some pre-sales more frequently, because the pre-sales have seemed to go pretty well and people don't mind paying for the shirts up front. And that way I can know exactly how many shirts I'm going to sell, because I do get a lot of feedback, a lot of comments and requests for people for me to print something in their size specifically. I just am having trouble figuring out a way to build a landing page on the website that would allow somebody, most likely one of my existing customers, to come on and purchase a size, a color, and a style of a garment that I can then go buy and print and fulfill after they've already paid for it. So that's kind of where I'm at right now on the merchandise and the screen printing. But I do look forward to bringing in some new like different things in the near future, some goofy stuff as well, because I have this press I can print on pretty much anything flat. So I keep an eye out for that. I have a chef's apron, a striped chef's apron that I printed. Yeah, man, that's a lot. I know that I said it was going to be long. This actually isn't that long of a podcast, but that's a lot of information. I got a lot of stuff going on in my head. I need to get all of this stuff done, and it takes a lot of time and money. So I'm pretty strapped on cash and going to be lean going into opening up as a Tanglefoot officially, but I'm pretty excited to get all this done. I am also excited about kind of documenting I mentioned the TABC process, but the process of basically trying to grow this brewery and the number side of things once I get it all in my name, because I just didn't feel comfortable like utilizing my dad's business or any of these other any of these other things that aren't like specifically in my name. And if I'm going to air out all of the numbers and stuff, I'd like it to be solely on me and make sure that I feel comfortable with that. I've always been super transparent about numbers for people that ask me, and I, in fact, I did an interview with another YouTube channel about this a couple of weeks ago, so I'm gonna dive more into that. So keep an eye out for that on the YouTube channel, as well as on the podcast. I'll probably be talking about more things that are specifically related to business. But yeah, that's all I got. That's the sticky note is taken care of. I appreciate everybody hanging in there while I wasn't posting, or at least dropping podcast episodes for the last few weeks. So yeah, I appreciate the listenership, and I hope that I can bring some more content your way that is engaging and stuff that you like. Let me know if y'all reach out to me, either email or Instagram, Facebook messages. If you want to hear anything else about the process, I know that I'm just looking at things on a day-to-day basis and maybe not zooming out enough to see that I'm missing. There's some gaps in what I'm saying about the process of growing this business. So reach out to me. Let me know if you want to hear anything more technical on the brewing end or more on the business side. But yeah, that's all I got for you. Thanks for listening. Na zdraví. We'll see you soon in the beer saloon.